Hi, what's everybody? It's Coach Potatoes. We're back again. Anthony, TJ, and Ben. I said Coach Potatoes, right?
It sounded like you let what's everybody?
I thought you were laughing because I said Couch Potatoes. Anyways, it's episode 21. We got a bunch of things to discuss today. We're going to go through, obviously, the NFL weekend, talk about some UFC, but first we're going to lead off today. The Baseball Hall of Fame came out with the 4 people they're electing in. Mariano Rivera, Roy Halladay, Edgar Martinez, and then Mike Mussina are the 4 that got elected. So I don't think Edgar was really ever linked to PEDs. So I think we're still at the point where no one linked to PEDs has gotten in yet. Because Schilling, Bonds, Clemens kind of all got there. Their numbers keep going up.
Yeah.
But I think they ended, in the 50s, I thought I saw. So
I think like 59 is what I saw like Bonds and Clemens go to.
So still a little short. So the big topic was Mariano Rivera became the first unanimously voted in Hall of Fame player in the history of the Baseball Hall of Fame. 100% of the writers voted for him. I'm not sure how many vote. There's normally like over 400 writers.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact number, but
so he's the first person to ever be at 100%. So the question we're going to talk about is, does he deserve to be, the person that's 100%? And I think we're all in agreement that he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, without question.
He deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He just does not, and so do, I think the 4 guys they got in are correct. Mussina was the one that I was kind of in line, but when you look at his numbers, although he didn't have the big name during his career, he had Hall of Fame numbers. I think he deserves to be in there.
Agreed.
Edgar Martinez, I think the knock on him had always been that he DH'd.
Yeah, he was a DH pretty much his whole career.
But his hitting-wise, he deserved to be in.
Yeah.
And then obviously Halladay, I think, deserved to be in. He was kind of right where I thought, about 85, percent.
Yeah.
And then, Mariano Rivera obviously deserved to be in. But to be the first 100% person, I think is significant. I don't think he deserves that distinction. And I'm a Red Sox fan, so my bias to Yankees is obviously there. But the reason I don't deserve is that it kind of creates a stigma that, at least to me, that he's the best player that's ever played the game when you look at that number. Now, the number's a little misleading because it doesn't separate, the percentage-wise, it doesn't separate who was first ballot.
Right.
So some guys are not first ballot, but then the 4th year they get to 80%, and they pass people that were first ballot at 70%. Now, obviously, the guys that are up in the high 80s, I think Ken Griffey was the highest. He surpassed Tom Seaver, I think, last year as the highest ever, and he had he
was like 98 points.
I think 3 people didn't vote for him, which is still baffling that he didn't get 100% of the vote either. But past Tom Seaver, and he was 100%, and then Mariano Rivera obviously got 100% this year. The problem is, I don't know if Mariano Rivera is a top 50 baseball player all time.
Well, it's hard because you're looking at a closer. A guy who literally, probably at most is pitching 6 outs a game. And that's if he's going
he's probably the best closer of all time.
Well, I don't think there's a doubt about that. He's all-time saves leader and all that type of shit. That's all well and good, and it's his position. Obviously that's his position, and it's not necessarily a knock on him and that saying he can't do anything else. But it's like, okay, you're the closer and you have a very vital role. But if you're only playing, typically at most 3 outs a game.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little bit more depending on the situation. How do you give that guy, more credentials, we'll say, than, the guys, the Roy Halladays who fucking pitches complete games all the time, multiple Cy Young Award winner, the Ken Griffeys, all these type of guys who are doing things day in and day out for 9 innings at a time. I don't understand how a guy who pitches for 1 inning at a time gets the unanimous vote. That just doesn't really make sense to me. Although he was the best to ever do it at his position.
And we're not trying to knock on Rivera because we all agree that he deserves to be in. He deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I think that, so let me put it this way: if being 100% voted in was kind of the norm for people that should be first ballot Hall of Famers, then yes, everyone should think that he's a Hall of Famer.
Right. If that's a normal thing, then yes, I wouldn't disagree with it.
The problem is that there's been stuff in the past where, and whatever it is, everyone speculates. People don't vote for a certain person because, maybe they were a beat writer for the Red Sox, so they don't vote for the Yankees. Or, Willie Mays, for example, maybe he pissed one reporter off, didn't want to give him an exclusive story. The writer didn't vote for him. And that's, maybe a flaw in the system of having, all writers be the voters. But you would think that I just wonder if the writers now obviously they understand that Rivera deserves to be in there, and from all accounts, he was a great person, and he was the last person that got to wear Jackie Robinson's 42.
Yep.
Which is obviously significant. So I wonder now that the writers see that he got 100%, if one of them doesn't wish, not because he didn't deserve it, that they didn't vote for him, just because he didn't. I don't think he deserved to be the first person to be voted 100%.
Right. Well, I mean, what? Baseball's been, it's America's pastime. It's been in our history for over, 120 years, 130 years, whatever. To go that long and not have a single player, so you're going through the Babe Ruths, the Lou Gehrig's, the Mantles, the DiMaggios, the Yogi Berras, all these guys, Ted Williams, all throughout history. Not one of them gets a unanimous vote into Cooperstown, and a closer is the first one?
Yeah.
Then, I don't know. I feel like it kind of takes the honor out of it, because it's you go through 100+ years of history of not a single player getting a unanimous 100% of all the writers voting you in, and then you finally get there and it's like, wow, who's going to be the first guy to do it? And it's like, womp womp womp. It's a closer, though he deserves first ballot.
I think it is kind of a letdown because you want that first person to be like someone like incredible. Like I could have felt better with Griffey because he like transcended the game. And even when Jeter comes up, I would have felt better with Jeter.
Yeah, I don't think too many people would have balked at it if Jeter next year was the first.
And there's guys that are coming up, like Mike Trout. I wouldn't, if he continues at the pace he's at and he got 100%, I wouldn't feel horrible about it at all.
That's crazy.
But I mean, even some of the guys you mentioned, like Ted Williams, people from that era, like some of those guys fought in World War II, then came back and had a Hall of Fame career, then went to war, fought World War II, then came back, had more of a Hall of Fame career, and didn't get 100% of the vote. Like, that's as a humanity thing, people from that era deserved, 100%. But, it is what it is. They got in. I think they got the 4 right.
Yes, I agree with that. I'm glad no PED guys got in. Yeah, so that's just a stain on the game.
That's one more question we're going to pose real quick to get open here. Do you guys think eventually they should put the steroid guys in?
No. Have they been proven that they're on steroids?
What?
Or are they heavily Barry Bonds implied?
So Barry Bonds is technically heavily implied. I don't think he ever failed a test. I could be wrong, but I don't think he ever.
I don't remember that he did, but there's guys like McGuire, Mark McGuire, who tested positive for things that kind of the distinction there is like he was on stuff that you could buy over the counter. It wasn't like he was on some crazy weird steroid experimental drug thing that was giving him some huge advantage. But I think the principle stands. You're using something that is going to give you a competitive edge in the game. I don't think that I think that automatically disqualifies you from being in the the glory that is a Hall of Fame for any sport, whatever sport it is. This is the highest honor you can receive as a player. Ultimately, when you're playing the game, your goal is to obviously win, but then prove yourself so worthy that you get put in the echelon with these guys, the all-time greats in the Hall of Fame. So no, I don't think they should put guys in who did something to distinctly gain an advantage over their opponents in the game.
So long as they worked within the confines of the rules, I say yes. If they fail the test, no. Get out of here.
So technically I don't know if they failed I think some of them failed tests. The other ones are heavily accused. So I feel kind of the same way as TJ, but my one argument would be is that, and say what you want, I believe Bonds used steroids. I do believe, though, that before he used them, he was a Hall of Famer anyways.
No doubt. I think that's what's the most frustrating thing about Barry Bonds is that he was a probably top 5 player in the league at the time before this all kind of started getting into the fray. He was on pace, I think, already to hit over 600 bombs. He was a 40-40 guy every year.
Well, the best stat about him is that he's the only player with 400 home runs and 400 stolen bases. He's the only person in that league. He's also the only person that has 500 home runs and 500 stolen bases.
Yeah, he was absolutely incredible, which is so aggravating as to what, when this started coming into the conversation with him. But yeah, it's like, you're a grown man and all of a sudden your shoe size is growing, your head size is growing, you were a fucking twig your whole career and all of a sudden you're jacked. And it's like, yeah, I've just been hitting the cages a lot, coach. I've been hitting the gym. I'm like, come on, son.
Yes.
Like,
I mean,
don't feed me that.
Case, yeah, I wouldn't say.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say as a defense for him, oh, he would have been a Hall of Famer anyway had he not used it. I think as soon as you use it, you now are outside of the confines of the rules. That should affect your entire career as a whole. So then I get the frustration, but then I would say no, he doesn't deserve to be in.
So one more stat real quick. Reese Hoskins tweeted this today because Bonds came up. And the stat was if you went 2 for 5 with a homer and a single every day, you would end with 162 home runs, 810 total bases, 324 hits, and you'd still have a lower OPS than Barry Bonds had in 04 when he had just that incredible season, which is ridiculous. So I get that, it was cheating, but I have a feeling that with the steroid era, we sometimes operate under that these, 10 guys were the only ones juicing. And I have a tough time believing that. And I think that their steroids obviously helped, but majority of those people would have been Hall of Famers. Now, guys like Rafael Palmeiro was probably a fringe guy.
Yeah.
So I don't think you put him in. Bonds, Clemens, Schilling, they were probably going to be Hall of Famers whether they used or not. And I feel like sometimes we operate under this bubble that, only these 12 guys use steroids, when really probably majority of people playing baseball were using steroids.
I don't disagree with
Minor
that.
leaguers were and were still shit. So I think it's going to work out probably the best way, which is I think eventually they will get in. And it might be by this new today's game committee that just elected like Harold Baines and Lee Smith or whatever, two other people that probably don't deserve to be in. But I don't know, Harold Baines got in the Hall.
Yeah, that's a stretch.
Named at the Hall of Decent Players.
But I could have been in that hall.
The other thing is too is that Bonds isn't gonna get he won't be if he wouldn't use steroids, we could have been talking about him as the first 100% vote getter. But we're not. When he gets in,
yeah, I think so.
When he gets in,
if he gets
in on his normal 10-year ballot, he's gonna get 76% of the vote. He's gonna be he's gonna barely get in because people are gonna put him on the ballot, which I think will hurt his legacy for the steroids. But I think he deserves to be in. Now, I'm saying they deserve to be in because I also believe that Pete Rose deserves to be in.
Pete Rose absolutely deserves to be in. It is an absolute travesty that he's not. That is a whole other segment. That is horseshit that Charlie Hustle, the hit king, is not in the Hall. That is total bullshit.
Did he act in the confines of the MLB rules?
He did not. He bet on his own team while he was managing them. So, that's that being said, TJ is right. He does have the most hits ever.
I get that.
Over what, 5,000?
4,000.
4,000?
I guess it's more frustrating because he never enhanced. He just bet on him because he knew he was
he
fucking
also
good.
He also played when the enhancement drugs probably
were legal.
Well, if they were legal, they probably weren't around that much.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask too. Are those 12 guys you keep mentioning? Was it they were allowed to at the time, and then over the years they were like, you know what? No more steroids.
Well,
you need to cycle off.
I don't know when the rules came in, but so the problem, I don't know when the rule came in, but a lot of people are frowning upon it whether it was legal or not that you enhanced your abilities. Baseball is a very purist sport, and the writers and a lot of the writers do not like people that change their game. A lot of the writers are people that they don't want the limitation on mound visits. They don't want, if you go into extra innings, a guy starts on first. They like the 3.5 hour game that ends 1-0 in a pitcher's duel. So it's just kind of, it's the shift of, you've got the people that are voting are not typically the progressive people of today. And